right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a busy Monday on tap today at the race shop. So it is 9 a.m. on the dot right now, and I just got down to the race shop, and I got to get this car ready by the end of the day to get loaded up, and we are going to be competing at the Cottage Grove Speedway tomorrow and Wednesday for night number 2 and 3 of ISCS Speed Week. So I'm pumped up. 2 midweek shows. Don't get that opportunity too much out here on the West Coast. We aren't running the whole week. We're just doing the 2 nights. It's close to home, and it's kind of what we can do at the moment with our busy schedule outside of racing. The Speed Week actually starts tonight over in Coos Bay, then 2 nights at Cottage Grove, which we'll be racing at, then Sunset Speedway Park on Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday at the Grays Harbor Raceway. And we actually won it back in 2019. 3 of the 6 nights the 18T brought home, and I think we were in the top 10 all 6. So we had some good consistency, and that's like back when we were really running the limited class as much as possible, as I was like growing in the sport of sprint car racing, working my way towards 360 and 410 action. But yeah, this car ran Placerville literally like less than 48 hours ago. We got it home. We washed yesterday. We already switched engines because my dad has a busy day at work, so I'm gonna mainly be in the shop by myself. So we already got the limited in, and I can do most of the other stuff on my own. But anyway, I'm gonna get to work. We just gotta maintenance this whole car, get our tire situation figured out. Also, I probably have a couple of small little things to wash, and then we'll get it all packed back up and be ready to go tomorrow. Well, race car still looks the same as when I first talked to you guys, but making a little bit of progress. Wanted to take a quick break just to talk about what maintenance I am doing specifically. One of the most unique parts about our sport is how it's not just about what happens on track. In order to be successful at the track, you have to do your due diligence in the shop. And that means hours and hours of hard work doing things correctly to make sure your race car is up to par and fast enough to compete with your competitors. So even though we have a quick turnaround today, we're still not missing a beat, and we're trying to do just about everything we can. So the first thing you guys saw me do was re-grease our bird cages. It's super simple. We have this little Zerk fitting right here, and we have our grease gun. You hook it right up. You put a couple pumps of grease, and then that just refills the bearing inside the bird cage. And while we're doing that, we're trying to spin the rear axle so it doesn't just put the grease in one spot and fills it up entirely. And then we also do that on the other side and in the front. The front's a little bit different. It doesn't take as much grease. You just fill up in this Zerk fitting here, and then there's one in the top. And that just puts grease around this kingpin that goes through the axle and holds the spindle and the whole front end together. The other thing you saw me do was to re-grease our torque ball here. Now, it's supposed to spin, but right now it doesn't because we're on setup blocks in the back. Once we're off of those, I'll show you, but the torque ball is supposed to spin, and if it doesn't, like for example, if your car's sitting on the ground, let's say you got into an incident, a crash, or you hit the wall, and your torque ball does not spin, it means something is bound up in the rear. Another indicator for something like that is the Jacob's ladder, which my Jacob's ladder is tight right now as well because, as I mentioned, it's on setup blocks, so both of them are bound, but once it's sitting on the ground, it should be free. It's important to re-grease that because it's constantly spinning and it's underneath your legs, and you never... If there's anything you're not gonna shortcut on a race car, in my opinion, it'd be things that are around the cockpit area, because if they go wrong and, you know, like for example, you have your U-joint right there. If you don't take care of your U-joint and that explodes, that's gonna take out your ankles, which is a little bit different than, as I was mentioning, you know, the torque tube and the torque ball, but still, it's important to maintenance everything, but I definitely would not recommend shortcutting anything in the cockpit. And then in the front, I have my torsion bars out. I got them all cleaned up. And then also, of course, I cleaned the blue bushings that the bars will be sliding through. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Gonna get our front bars back in the front rack, and then we'll move to the rear and get those out, clean them up, and get them back reset. starting to look like a race car. My father stopped in from work just a minute ago to kind of do his part. He always hooks up the fuel lines, which I think in our recent video at Southern Oregon Speedway, a lot of you guys were commenting saying I threw my dad under the bus, saying, you know, he left a fuel line loose. And that was more jokingly because he does the fuel system. So he just went through and hooked up all of our lines, got the radiator in, got our stacks on, got the air filter. And as I said before, I re-greased my bars in the back. And I went through and re-blocked the front end and the rear end, which basically blocking a sprint car is determining and setting where it is gonna ride on the ground. See these right here, they are called setup blocks where you can adjust where your left and right side is gonna be set. Now some of you are probably now asking the question, how does that work? So you put it on that setup block, you have your torsion stop here, or some people just call them stops, and this is an adjuster bolt. And that adjuster bolt goes straight into the frame. So if you were to have this loose, you could just turn it with your hand. You would finger tighten it all the way down, or you could use a wrench, and you get it to where it just makes contact with the frame, and that would be at 0. So basically when that stop or that corner is at 0, it means it's not gonna go past that certain point. That is where it is going to stop at. And it gets a lot more complicated when you start looking at all 4 corners, because you can add weight in the corner, you can take weight out, and all sorts of things to kind of give your car a setup. But maybe that gives you a little bit of intel. That is for both the rear and the front. You have to block, and then you have to set your torsion stops wherever you want. And like I said, that is what determines your ride heights and where your car is gonna sit. Also, I changed all 4 of our shocks because we are now back on our QA1 twin tubes, because we are not allowed to run gas shocks in the limited. So we're actually super far along, making tons of progress on this Monday. I mean, we can't just make progress today, we have to finish, which we will. And then we will load later tonight and leave tomorrow, you know, midday for Cottage Grove. Well, long day, ladies and gentlemen, but it is 9:05, so 3 hours until midnight, and 18T is in the race trailer ready to go, all strapped down. I might be looking a little rough. I figured I'd tell you guys because I knew someone would comment something. I was wearing glasses in some of the clips in today's show when I was working on the car. Because actually, I like scratched, is what you would call it, I guess, my left eye. At Placerville, I was being dumb. I had my shield open at a bad time, and something got in my eye. And that day, it was all good. But when I woke up Sunday, my left eye just hurt. And then yesterday, okay, so that would have been yesterday. And then this morning when I woke up, it was almost like shut. Like I could not open it. Like it was pretty bad. So I put some eye drops in, I flushed it out, and the thing I looked up on the internet said if you wear sunglasses, that really helps, because when I see bright lights, that's actually when it's bad. I'm no expert, but that's just what I was feeling. So I was wearing the sunglasses, and that actually made it way, way better. So hopefully that will maybe, you know, be better as well tomorrow, and I'll have some progress in that area. But 18T is all loaded up. Glad you guys got to see a little bit of the maintenance that we did. One thing I meant to say earlier in the video when we were just talking about what we were doing to the car as far as maintenance goes, every single time we wash, and I feel like most crew guys, car owners, drivers would like all agree on this, whether it's at your shop or on the road at a car wash, every single time you do that process, you need to go through and maintenance. You don't just wash and then unload and go race again, because water sits in all the different cracks, in small areas, in your torsion bars, your torque tube, in your front axle, whatever it may be, it sits there, and that is just not good. It can cause rust, it can cause other issues. So if you wash, that would be your part 1. You gotta do part 2, which is going through and redoing everything. That's why in between 2-day shows and stuff, if we don't wash, you technically don't have as much work to do. If maybe you're just doing kind of a 2-day show weekend, you don't wash, you can get by and then get back to the shop and do it all there. Should probably go get some sleep. Yep. My dad is correct. So he's shutting the door, trailer's loaded, probably leave about noon tomorrow, which will be Tuesday. Race tomorrow night, race Wednesday, chase 2 victories in the 18T. Glad we got it all done, and hopefully you guys enjoyed hanging out with us for the afternoon. See you all in the next one. Deuces.